Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Theresa VanderMeer. Tell us about Work Shelter. And on your website, it's work and the + shelter.
Sure.
Why is it called Work Shelter?
Sure. So Work Shelter really is a place for women to come and work and make a fair wage, but it's also about safety. So many of the women that we work with are they are domestically abused, or they are struggling with poverty situations, or they have hard home lives. And so for them, our center is actually a safe space for them. It's a shelter. So they come for the work, but it's really about the community, the safety, the support that they get from being in our safe environment. That's the shelter piece for us.
As I mentioned in the introduction, you envisioned and then launched Work Shelter just a few years out of school.
Sure.
How did you do it?
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes when I look back and I'm like, how did it get this big? Wow, this is real. And I kind of just feel like, I know that I showed up for a lot of years and I put in a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of sacrifice to make it happen. But when I go back to those first years before I even started Work Shelter, there's a very clear trail from going to India to do research. So I went to do research on behalf of the University of Michigan, and I just met women and spoke with them and heard about their lives. And they also told me the challenges and what could help them. And so many of these women I'd met who'd been widowed or divorced and were just struggling to support themselves and their children, they said that a consistent income would really help. And many of them were working in the informal textile industry. So they would produce something and then someone would purchase it and resell it. And they felt like they weren't getting their fair cut of that. And so I first started sourcing products from different individual women or from artisans in India. So from this nonprofit that does silk weaving, or this women weavers cooperative in the Himalayas that knit scarves, like I would purchase those items and then sell them on my college campus. So really, I was 21 years old purchasing these scarves and selling them. And then I would just buy more. The money went just directly back to buy more and sell more. I started getting a little gutsy, and I would go into boutiques, and I always, felt like my heart was beating so fast, but I would ask to talk to the shop owner. Maybe they wanted to buy some of the things that I brought from India. And generally I got a lot of support, from these shop owners who probably were surprised to see this young woman with a suitcase roll up. But
what did you say?
I would just say, my name. I would introduce myself. I'm Theresa. I went to India. I worked with these women. They made these things. Would you like to buy any? And most of the time they would say yes. And so it didn't get that much easier. Still every time I'm asking for a sale, it's like, okay, I'm trying to really, you're showing what you're doing. And a lot of times when people see that, they really want to support. So it started with that. And then it transitioned into, okay, I'm starting to get some custom orders for these nonprofits or women in India to make these specific products. But I'm facing a lot of issues with the artisan development, where there are some challenges with the designs. And at this time, to call India, most people didn't have phones. If they did, there was a landline. And to call from the US, you had to go to a gas station and purchase a card that had $5 worth of credit to make a phone call overseas. And so it was very challenging to get the quality. But also I started having challenges with transparency where some of the nonprofits couldn't really share what the working conditions were like, who the individuals working were. And I just felt like, if I'm really going to know that I'm making an impact, but also be able to effectively oversee production, it makes sense to start my own space. And that's Work Shelter.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.